Welcome to Fowl Play, the sequel to the Nut Heist. In the Nut Heist, the adventure focused on the forces of the Kingdom of Acorna. In this installment, the adventure revolves around the Black Eastern Chipmunk Squad, known as the Becks, the Delta Force of the Chipmunk Kingdom of Doosan, and their newest member, Elgar. Sit back and enjoy the adventure, for who knows what will happen in the woods when foul play is involved. Fowl Play by Trisha M. Wilson, Episode 7, Chapter 6, Our White Cousin. 2 days later, General Branimir turned over the postcard Jasna, the leader of the Black Eastern Chipmunk Squad, more commonly known as Becks, had written and mailed from the festival. Father, Perun and I are having a great time at the Acorna Festival. We didn't get to tour the palace yesterday because of the peace delegation, but we did see 3 out of 4 children of the bird delegates today. They were so cute and appeared to be having a great time with their new squirrel friends, but they weren't too keen on being chaperoned. The conference appears to be going fine, and we can't wait to actually see the Blevins leaders. Everything that's happening here is so exciting. We hope you're having a good time at home. Please give our love to Mother. Love, Jasna and Perun. P.S. A friend and I happened to be talking about our white cousin. The birds, while not knowing exactly who he was, did mention that they had seen him when they were creating their map of boundaries. Let him know he was part of the peace talks. The last line of the letter stopped Branimir in his tracks. Let him know he was part of the peace talks. Few animals outside the kingdom were supposed to even know about Lord Zenith's existence, let alone mention him at the peace talks with his cousin. Rereading the postscript, Branimir was relieved when he realized they did not know more specific details. Without a name, a general description of an albino squirrel was not going to create too much concern. Curiosity was more likely the end result of mentioning him than anything else. The only other new information to note was that the Blevins delegates had brought their children. In Branimir's opinion, children had no business being at conferences such as these. Their place was at home, safe, just in case peace could not be reached. That way, they could not be used as hostages to force a compromise. Walking out of the room, he went straight to the dining room where Lord Zenith and Madame Penelope were eating breakfast. Standing at the end of the table, General Branimir waited to be acknowledged by either one of them. "Yes, General?" Penelope asked, glancing up from her breakfast. "I have just received an urgent report from one of my men in the field," Branimir said. "Sit, Zenith ordered, nodding to the chair right in front of Branimir. Branimir sat, and then Zenith asked, "What was so urgent that it couldn't wait until after breakfast?" "I received word from Jasna, the leader of the Becks, that you were brought up during the peace talks between Acorna and the Blevins United Confederation," he said. "I was brought up? Explain what you mean," Zenith ordered. Next to him, Penelope continued to lazily spread jam on her toast, looking thoroughly unconcerned about the turn of events. "From the little the note could say, they didn't mention you by name, my liege. The Blevins only stated that they had seen a white squirrel south of the Acorna Kingdom." "In what context was Lord Zenith brought up?" Penelope asked, looking at the general with gleaming eyes. "When the two sides were going over the maps of their boundaries, madam. From what I can piece together, the Acorna must have questioned their southern boundary on the Blevins map. And that must have been when the Blevins mentioned seeing the white squirrel," he said. "Did anyone know who I was or mention my name?" Zenith wanted to know. "No, my liege." "You will have to be more careful, my love," Penelope said, looking at Zenith. "Unless you want to inform your cousin about your whereabouts and what you've been doing, you cannot continue to be as reckless as you've been." "You're right," Zenith said, not sounding happy. "I will be more careful in the future. Any other news, General? Peace talks are going smoothly. The only odd bit about the whole conference is the delegates brought their children with them. But it will be impossible to get close to them because they are closely watched by a chaperone at all times, Branimir reported. Why do these types of talks always have to go well? Zenith asked rhetorically. Thank you, General. You may go. General Branimir got to his feet and was about to leave the room when Penelope spoke. General, I would like to know one more thing. Yes, madam? How goes the training of young Elgar? I promised to let his Aunt Clara know, she said, her eyes gleaming once more. Elgar's training is still in its earliest stage, madame. Jasna sent him into the forest to train with Eld, who is one of our best wilderness survivalists. I expect them back at headquarters within a week or two. Excellent. I shall let his aunt know. Hearing the finality in her voice, Branimir knew it was time to leave. Bowing to both of them, he left the room and quietly closed the door behind him. Chapter 7. On Their Own. The next morning, Elgar woke up to a beautiful display of the sun waking for the day. The sun's orange rays, limitless and unmatched in their brilliance, spread across the land, pushing away the darkness of the night and put to bed the uncountable stars placed in the heavens by the gods. Glancing around camp, he was not surprised to see that Eld was already up and moving about. After a few minutes, Elgar was finished getting ready for the day and was sitting on the ground waiting for Eld to tell him what today's plan would be. Eld came and sat in front of Elgar. Today is going to be different than the other days. Today you will show me how much you have learned. How? Elgar asked, feeling excited. Until the sun awakens again, you will be on your own. You will go out into the forest, create your own camp, find food and water to feed yourself, and tomorrow you will hide your camp and yourself so nobody will be able to find it. Should you pass this test, then we will go back to headquarters, and then you will have to pass whatever test Jasna gives you. However, if you fail, then we will stay out here in the forest and go back over everything you have learned. Do you understand? Yes, I think so, Elgar said, thinking quickly. How will you know if I've passed the test? Tomorrow, I will set out from this camp and try to find you and your camp. You will hide far from your camp, but no further than 1 hour's travel. That will give me a workable radius to search for you. When I've either found you or finally call your name, then I will tell you if you have passed. You mean I'm going to be alone in the forest? Elgar asked, not sounding as excited as he had been a few minutes ago. Yes, there might be a time in your future when you will be alone in the forest. You must be able to conquer any fears you might have, or else you will not be successful in other aspects of training, Eld said. Elgar thought about that for a second before nodding in agreement. When do I leave? Now, Eld said. Gather your things together and head north. What you do once you're out of sight of this camp is up to you. Good luck, and I'll see you tomorrow. Gathering up his bag of things, Elgar looked around before starting out of the camp. For a while, Elgar did not take any care of how much noise he was making. He was still shocked that he was being sent out into the forest alone, and that he was supposed to survive all by himself. After about an hour, he stopped by a stream and sat down in order to think about how he was going to proceed. Okay, he mumbled to himself. You can do this. You've been listening and practicing everything Eld has told you. As long as you don't panic, everything will be all right. Who am I kidding? Of course I'm going to panic. No, he contradicted himself. You are not going to panic. The forest is nothing to be afraid of. Right now, I have to figure out where I am and then find a place to camp. Feeling slightly better now that he had given himself some words of support, he bent down and took a drink of water. Glancing around the stream, he remembered what Eld had said about special nut trees growing near bodies of water. Seeing a tree with nuts in the branches, Elgar eagerly hurried toward it and began to eat. It wasn't until he began eating that he remembered another thing that Eld had said. Picking up the shells that he had thrown on the forest floor, he quickly buried them in order to cover his tracks. After eating his fill, Elgar continued on his journey, this time as silently as possible. Before day 4 of the peace negotiations could start, Arwell, the leader of the Blevins, had to deal with a small mutiny on his wings. "We don't want to go to no boring conference," Rise said with a stubborn expression. "We want to go to the festival with our friends." "You children haven't really seen anything of the conference. Every day you have had some excuse not to attend, and it has to stop sooner or later. Today we're going to be talking about—" "We don't care," Nesta said, her expression as stubborn as her brother's. "All you do is talk, and that's no fun. We want to have fun." "Yeah, Daddy," Adern contributed. "We want to have fun with our squirrel friends. They said that they'd take us to their house after the festival." "So none of you want to watch any of the negotiations?" Arwell asked, looking into the faces of his children. "Dear," Tesney said, wrapping a wing around his shoulders, "they are too young to really appreciate the art of this conference. They might be more interested when they are older, but right now they want to play with their friends. Tancred has been a wonderful chaperone, and I have really enjoyed the time to myself. Let it go," she said, when he opened his beak to fight. Breathing out a gust of air, Arwell admitted defeat. "Fine. Go have fun at the festival. But later, when you want to know all about what happened here this week, I'll remind you of this moment." Going to the door of his quarters, Arwell opened the door, and a servant came forward. "Please inform Tancred that the children are going to the festival again today, and that he is to chaperone them. They will leave after breakfast." "Yes, sir," the servant said, bowing and then leaving to take the message. "There," Arwell said, turning back to the children. "Are you happy now?" "Yes!" they all screamed. Perun and Jasna had only been at the festival for a little while before they saw the 3 children of the delegates running toward their squirrel friends and being followed by a not-so-energetic chaperone. Sitting on a bench, so they would be able to watch the group covertly, Perun asked, "Have you received any word from our father?" "Only that we are to continue to observe what is going on. Nothing more," Jasna said. "Look, their chaperone isn't being as cautious as he has been previous days." Perun saw what she was talking about. Instead of closely following them and keeping an eye on their every move, Tancred was walking a lot slower, and his eyes held a glazed-over look, as if he were very tired and didn't know if he had enough energy to continue on. "Something is going to happen today," Perun said in response to a feeling he got from looking at the group. "Something very important is going to happen." "What?" Jasna asked. Perun did not often say things like that, but when he did, he was usually right. "I don't know, but I think it would be best to watch those children very carefully." Seeing the children move out of their line of sight, Jasna and Perun got up from their bench and continued to follow them. Arnie looked around to make sure nobody was close enough to hear what they were talking about. "Come on, let's ditch him, and I'll show you my secret place in the forest." "We're not supposed to go anywhere without Mr. Tancred," Adern said, not bothering to keep her voice down. "Be quiet," Rise said with a hard look at his sister. Turning back to Arnie, he said, "She's right, you know. Our parents would be really mad at us if we lost him. My dad's already unhappy we didn't want to go to the stupid meetings he keeps having with the king. He would shed all his feathers if we went with you and didn't take Tancred." "Oh, grow up," Ebby said. "Don't tell my brother to grow up. Only I can do that," Nesta snapped. "Shut it, the two of you," Rise said. "We won't be gone long, and we could tell him that we got lost someplace on the festival grounds. Nothing's going to happen as long as we stay together, Arnie said confidently. But we could get lost, Adern said. No, we couldn't, Vanda said. Arnie knows the forest like the back of his paw. My mom's let them go into the forest 1,000 times, and nothing bad has ever happened to them. Well, there was that one time I fell out of the tree and broke my arm. But as long as everyone stays on the ground, I'm sure that won't happen again, Ebby said. No, of course not, Arnie assured the others. Now are you going to come with us or not? Rise looked at Nesta, and she shrugged as if to say it was okay with her. We'll come. Now how are we going to get away from Tancred? Before they could say another word, Tanker came up from behind them and said, There you are. I thought I lost you in the crowd. Now, no more going so far ahead of me. Oh, no, Mr. Tancred, Vanda said. We want to go on all the rides. You know, the ones that are way over there on the other side of the grounds. Yes, but you don't have to follow us, Rise said, getting the drift. We can go have some fun for a while and then come back and get you when we're done. I don't think that would be a very good idea, Tancred said. But you look so tired, Nesta said, and all you would be doing is watching us. Unless, that is, you want to go on the rides with us. No, I'm not in the mood for the rides, and there are no benches around them either. I guess it would be okay for you to go on ahead of me, but I'll be following you and meet you at the rides. If you don't see me within a half hour, you are to go back to the palace. Understand? Yes, Mr. Tancred, the group said together before they took off into the crowd. Running around a curve in the path, Nesta looked back and said, I can't see him. Good, Arnie said, changing direction slightly. There's a back exit, which we can take directly into the forest. From there, my secret place is not too far away. Everyone ran and followed Arnie. As they went through the exit single file, Adern asked, What about Mr. Tancred? He's tired and needs to rest for a while, Rise said in a comforting voice. We're going to come back and get him a little while. But he'll never even know we're gone, right? Right, Ebby said. We'll be there and back by the time he starts getting up from his seat. Come on, it's this way. The group followed Ebby as he entered the forest. Watching the 6 children leave the festival, Perun asked Jasna, Should we stop them? No. Remember, we are not to interfere. If they want to leave the safety of the festival and their chaperone, that is their business, Jasna replied. But they could get lost or hurt, Perun said, trying to keep the worry out of his voice. I know, but we must let them go about their business unobstructed. Perun looked like he was going to say something else, but Jasna cut him off. What would you have us do? Tell them to stop? Tell them that their chaperone would not like them running around in the forest without supervision? Or do you want us to follow them? We could, but they might notice that 2 adults are suspiciously following kids around the forest. There's nothing we can do short of getting the authorities involved, and we can't do that because we don't want to make our presence known to everyone. I know, but it seems wrong somehow to let them go off alone, Perun said with a sigh. It is, but they are not our children or our responsibility. Perun turned to get one last look at the disappearing children, still thinking that he should stop them. Foul Play was written by Trisha M. Wilson and read by R.L. Ferguson. For comments or compliments, just head over to Colbyjack.net and look for our contact page. Foul Play is released under a Creative Commons non-commercial no derivatives license. Share it with whoever you want, just don't sell it or change it. Have a nice day. Foul Play is now available in ebook format from Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and Smashwords. While you're there, check out her other titles such as The Nut Heist, the prequel to Foul Play, or Nightmare, a tale of obsession and murder. Links to all her wonderful titles are available at our homepage at Colbyjack.net.